LabCoatAgents podcast.
Okay, LabCoat Nation, welcome back for another episode of the LabCoatAgents podcast. And in true form and fashion, we are LabCoatAgents. That is the science of real estate. So it's very appropriate that we bring our guest on today, who is a mental scientist. And ladies and gentlemen, when I met this gentleman, the first thing I asked was, what the hell is a mental scientist? And it grabbed my attention. And so I thought this would be a perfect guest for the podcast. I want to bring him on because I want to ask him a bunch of questions as to what that means and how we can use that in our business. I don't think we talk about it enough. So I'm excited to share today. We are bringing on Dr. Hank Seitz, who again is a mental scientist, tons of experience in the real estate world. He has helped develop, I believe I saw over 4 billion in real estate sales. You've run a brokerage of over 420 agents. Yeah. And today it sounds to me like you are just enriching the lives of our real estate world and probably outside of that. Yeah. Dr. Hank, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you for all you lab coat agents. And you guys are the cutting edge agents, the ones that, are really looking what Jeff offers on just helping to build your business for real estate agents. That's very close to my heart. So I want to thank you, Jeff, for doing that and having me on my show. And I'll give you a little background of me that most everybody calls me Dr. Hank. Where the doctor comes from is my Ph.D. is in mental science and from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm also a behavioral psychologist, and my undergraduate was in business. But really what I am is I'm a wealth maker, and I've been in lots of businesses and consulted Fortune 100 companies around the world. And now in the kind of the last half stage of my life that you're exactly right, Jeff. I'm dedicating my life mainly, my niche, if you will, is real estate agents, but I do help loan officers, etc. And most everything that I have, I'm going to provide an offer today, but I have a lot of free things. I have a lot of books. I've written 15 books. In fact, you'll have an opportunity today to get my latest real estate book. It's called Your Real Estate Your GPS to Success, which is to help real estate agents to build their prosperity and both their business and their wealth. And so I've been in the business for over 20 years, done with me and my agents over $4 billion worth of real estate. And we've done a lot of different things, mainly residential, but commercial, and a lot of investing around the country. And so that gives you a little background of me. And any other thoughts or questions that
I do. So first of all, you didn't realize this. I didn't realize this. You have another special place in my heart because I am a big UW Badger fan.
Oh my gosh.
I was born in La Crosse, Wisconsin, but lived in St. Louis all my life. But I've always had family in Wisconsin, and Madison, Wisconsin is one of my most favorite cities in the entire world. So
Madtown. That's why they call it Madtown.
That's right. That's right. I have had a good time or 12 in that city before. It is a good time.
We can talk that after the show.
Yes, that's right. But I wanted to ask you, you mentioned, so obviously you're very distinguished. You've got some very qualified degrees, but I don't think when I think of mental health and a mental scientist, I don't think creating wealth, building wealth. I think, okay, you're going to be a financial advisor, not I think maybe a psychiatrist, right? Or literally a scientist. So how do the two come together? How did you mesh those two together?
Yeah. So really a mental scientist is more about the mind. And, Jeff, we've all, I'm sure we've all heard this idea about thoughts becoming things. And it's really how all creation is made. So in other words, for 2021, for our dreams to come true, it really all starts with your thoughts. And sometimes people say, oh, Dr. Hank, you're in la la land, let's be realistic or whatever. And first of all, the people that say to me, be realistic, that, face reality, I always say to them that there's no way I'm ever going to face reality. I'm going to create reality. And the way we do that is with our thoughts. So what I'm going to share with you is, it's actually been backed by all of science in the last 5 years. And this is molecular biologists, quantum physicists, that all the disciplines of science have agreed in the last 5 years that there are 3 steps in order to create whatever you want. And the first all-important step is your thoughts. So our thoughts create, in essence, our experience. And those thoughts then, according to the scientists, those thoughts create energy. And so really the whole universe is energy. But with the power of our thoughts, that we can literally mold the energy that creates worlds into our own experience. And so the 3 steps are: thoughts create energy, which is our emotion. The scientists call it energy, but it's our emotion. And that emotion then creates that energy, then creates what the scientists call matter, M-A-T-T-E-R. So that's why thoughts become things. Now, it really goes beyond that, and that'll be in my program, Extraordinary Agents. I'll get into more detail about that. But I think the main thing for our purposes today is to understand on how our thoughts create. And so hearing that, questions, or would you like to hear me?
Well, I mean, I think, and I like to always hit these things head off and ask the question, whether or not I know the answer or not. I'm trying to put myself in in the head of the viewer, the audience, the listener.
Sure.
And I do, you said it, you said, people say, hell, Hank, let's face reality. I'm thinking to myself, and don't get me wrong, I do believe in this stuff, but I know how most people think, and they're thinking this is hokey. This is a bunch of rah BS. And you think that I'm going to get up in my own head and all of a sudden dollars are going to start raining from the sky. And so I know that's a very close-minded mindset, and scarcity mindset is a common, it's a buzzword in the real estate industry. I'm sure you get that a lot. So let's hit that off before we even get into any deeper discussion.
Let's use, probably the best way is to understand on how many people have I impacted with this. And so we can start first with Fortune 100 companies. That's where I have my own consulting company. And they would hire me, and I'd go around the world helping them, and they would measurably increase their results with the help that I could give in their mindset and what they're doing. So a lot of people say, oh, we're going to have mindset training. None of them have been trained on mindset training, and they're just trying to tell you something like, I actually know how to tap into the subconscious mind, which is something we could talk about later. But for real estate agents and brokers and loan officers, and really real estate professionals, where I've specialized in the last 20 years, that I literally have helped thousands of people. In fact, most people that when they get my teaching, if you will, that they will easily double their business in the next year. So what a beautiful way to, this is the beginning of 2021, to be able to step out and say, hey, I'd like to double my business. So the thought can probably come to any of those of you that may be doubting is, what are you going to do this year in 2021? What are you going to do that's different? And again, I'm going to be able to offer you a process, a time-proven process that will for sure increase your business. And I've had people double their business, triple their business, et cetera. And it's not only the mindset, because remember, the mindset is number one, the thoughts. But those thoughts then create the ideas that then create the real tactical, realistic type of thing. So for example, I have lead programs that are exclusive lead programs. You don't need any technology, and over 90% of the leads will close. And that's all because in the last 20 years, I've developed these programs and I've asked for the thoughts, give me answers and solutions. And I've had those answers and solutions. So if you doubt, there's really no reason to doubt, because literally everyone that goes through my teaching and my different processes that I have has at least 1,000% return on their investment. Otherwise, they can have their investment back. And I've never had to return any money, because as long as you do the easy steps that I ask you to do, no more than 15, 20 minutes per day, it will literally improve your thinking process and will create, as you term that, the money just starts falling from heaven.
That sounds appealing, right?
Yeah.
That sounds very appealing. So let's take a step back and say, and I'm sure you have a certain, kind of funnel that you want to go down in terms of our conversation. So feel free to take it there. But as you give me the opportunity, I'm going to ask you questions.
Sure.
And so I'd like to know, so you said you've coached, Fortune 100 companies and whatnot, and you've done all this stuff. You've traveled the world. Now you've focused on real estate. What is it that creates the situation where an agent says, I need that guy, I need Dr. Hank, I need a mental scientist? Like,
Yeah.
what puts somebody in that position? Because traditionally in business, that's not the place that you go sit down with your broker is typically going to get very tactical, and they're going to talk about, what does your schedule look like? And are you making the calls? And are you doing this? And are you doing that? Right? What leads someone to you in the first place?
You bet. You bet. Anybody that wants to be, do, and have more. And so if you're sitting there watching this and asking yourself, do I want to be, do, and have more? What is it that I haven't been able to get? What is it a year ago that I said I wanted to do in 2020 that didn't happen? And so when you look at that, and if you want to be, do, and have more, I guarantee you that I will expand your imagination to where you will create new thoughts and new tactical things in order to build your business. Because see, the fallacy of like typical coaches, if you will, or teachers, whatever, is they say, oh, this is the way that I did it, and you follow my way, and then you'll be successful. And it's impossible to be that way, because we're all on our own path and we all have different desires. So what I do is I take you and help you identify those desires, and then help you focus on answers and solutions. See, most of us have been brought up, Jeff, with this idea that I have to work hard, because we've seen other people do it. And we say, oh, it must be true. I have to work hard, a lot of hours. I got to do cold calling and whatever. Most of my agents and all of my agents that listen to me and do as I suggest, have way more time, way more business, and are much happier, and even healthier and better relationships. So this just doesn't go into business. This goes into everything. So the broker that sits down and says, go make 50 cold calls a day, that is the last. I'll never, ever tell anybody to do that, because if it doesn't feel good. Now, there are a small percent of the population where cold calls are great, and I can't wait to get after it. But for most people, remember, I'm a behavioral psychologist as well, that for most people, they don't want to do that. So I'm not going to tell anyone to do something that they don't feel good about, because it's this feeling that is actually our guidance system. As we feel good, we should go after that. When we feel bad, it means you're not thinking about this as your higher self is thinking about this, and to change it. And so it really will change everything, every aspect in your life as you think. And really the key here is to think about what you want and what you don't want. What most people have been told is face reality and look at what's going on right now. Well, actually, what's going on right now is previous thought right? According to the scientists, they've proven this. Previous thought has gotten me to what my current experience is and what I'm looking at in my reality. The only way that you can change your reality into what you want is to change your thinking and to think more about not what's going on, what is, if you will, but thinking about what will be. And as you start thinking about how you want it and you start feeling as though you have it, you will open up your eyes and be able to have it.
It's interesting, and one of the things that I heard you say there, and I don't want this to be interpreted incorrectly because I don't think you meant it this way,
Yeah.
or I don't think it should be received this way, which was the cold calling, right? And I 1,000,000% agree with you. I mean, there's a very small population of us humans that actually enjoy doing that. I mean, I hated it, but there is a level, there is a large level, a large degree of uncomfortability that comes with success. So
only if you believe that. And so if you believe that, you will be uncomfortable as you go to success. I've been extremely successful, independent, wealthy, traveled the world, used to travel the world. I mean, we did take one trip out, but that's it. And see, because, and I've done it all happily and all easily and with no stress or any of that stuff. And I've helped many people to be on that same path. So it is possible. And again, you can read my testimonials, agentwealthsuccess.com is a place to go, and you can see on how the people do. So this whole idea about, so if I have a belief that it's going to be difficult, it is. If I have a belief that success has to be painful, it will be. That we get to call it the way that we want it.
So let me give you a great example.
Sure.
So we have a video school and we teach video, and the number one, the objection or the concern across the board is, and this is a fact because I can attest to it. I've gotten good at video, but I still get uncomfortable from time to time. I still get nervous, right? But there is that mindset that I wasn't made for this. I have a face for radio. I don't like the way I sound. I'm not comfortable. I just don't like it. Right. But I know I need it.
Yeah.
And so you're telling us that if you can overcome the mental piece of this, essentially you can become, I won't, not to sound arrogant, but you can become Jeff Pfitzer in front of the camera, shooting videos every single day. Right.
There you go.
It's that. Okay. So how does somebody do that? Because I guarantee there's people listening right now saying to themselves, oh, hell no. There's no way I'm going to be able to change my mental state to get in front of the camera more often.
Right. So it's always good when you have a challenge, that an opportunity to overcome, if you will. So always look at the broader perspective. So let's do that. That, we've been told, and it is true, that it is done on you as you believe. And so our beliefs, and that's in our subconscious mind. And again, probably today we won't get too much into that. But these beliefs, well, do you know what the number one, Jeff, and the audience, that, do you know what the number one fear in America is? The number one fear is public speaking.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. I've heard that before.
Yeah. And over and above death, okay, is public speaking. And why is that? Well, if you trace back in your childhood that your parents, they had good intentions and everything, but they said, don't you be talking to strangers. And, and I kind of look as an adult now, I go, why not? They just give you candy. How great is that, right? But again, their thoughts went beyond that to some exception that doesn't happen unless you start creating it. In fact, that's what I counsel parents for, is don't worry about your children. If you worry, you send them worry, and they end up being worried for the rest of their life. And worry actually causes stress and reduces their longevity. So quit killing your kids, be sending them love, be sending them health and good success and, all of those type of things. So what happened because we were told, and we have this belief. So we have this big adult telling us as a child that, hey, don't talk to strangers. Now, when we were 18, we weren't told by those same people, oh, it's okay to go talk to strangers. So this is why cold calling, video, all of that stuff, just, calling any people that I know sometimes, people would be uncomfortable. And it's all because we have these beliefs, and basically that strangers are bad. So you and I are right now talking in front of strangers. So thus our belief is, oh my gosh, I fear these strangers, public speaking, cold calling, being on the video. So that is the first thing. And there is a way, yes, to overcome that and with your thoughts, but it's not, oh, I'm going to start just telling myself that I love doing video. Okay. And in fact, affirmations that way, like I am wealthy, it won't make you wealthy. And here's why, is the conscious mind and the subconscious mind have to agree. The subconscious mind takes all its orders from your conscious mind. Well, what have you done with your conscious mind? You said, oh, I don't like cold calling, I don't like video. I've been brought up with, that don't talk to strangers, etc. So my beliefs that are buried in my subconscious mind, my beliefs thus are not in agreement with I am wealthy. In fact, the subconscious mind, if you say I am wealthy, you can say it the rest of your life millions of times, and your subconscious mind will say bullshit. In other words, you don't have that agreement. And for those of you familiar with the Bible, Matthew 17 says when two of you are come together in agreement and be manifested on earth. Well, the two is not two people, it's your conscious and subconscious mind, and it's done unto you as you believe. So what I do is I have literally, and in fact, in Extraordinary Agents, I will give you some magical sentences that will go into from your conscious mind and sink into your subconscious mind and will literally improve your beliefs so that I can help anybody typically within 7 days to have more money. But I use a different word because, see, money actually has a lot of resistance. Most of us have been told that money is the root of all evil. And that's actually a misinterpretation of the Bible. It was saying that everything comes from God. And so, again, we have these beliefs and, filthy rich and everything. No wonder why most people don't have the abundant life. It's because of these beliefs. And if you don't change those beliefs, you can do all the cold calling you want, etc., and that you won't be as successful and have an easy path to everything that you want. Now, one of the things that you mentioned, Jeff, is you said that, you have to do these things in order to be successful. And, you have to have video. Now, is video very important? Absolutely. I get that. Again, for those that are comfortable with video or that we get comfortable with video, great. But there are way better ways and easier and far more will create by building relationships. The number one way is through referrals to build any business, especially in real estate. So we keep on going outside and thinking, oh, I got to make cold calls or videos. And again, it's not that I'm against any of that. It's that, hey, what feels best for you? And whatever feels best for you, I'll take you from there and I'll take you to more money and more business, more service, and a happier, a joyous ride. It kind of goes like this, that you can't have a happy ending without a happy journey. And so you want to make this a happy journey, and you can make it a happy journey and do it. And again, I've helped thousands of people to do so.
So let's stay on this topic to give them an example. And I'll stay with the video topic over public speaking, only because public speaking is less have the opportunity to even public speak in the first place.
Right.
And just to give a testimony to that, I mean, I still get nervous. I love public speaking.
Yeah.
But I still get nervous as hell, even when I know I'm prepared and I'm excited and I'm ready. And I know when I get on stage, everything's gonna go away.
Yeah.
What is it? And I'm digressing for a second, but what is it that, because I don't think I'm I don't think that's abnormal. I think that's very normal. I've got a lot of friends that also do public speaking. And if I asked them, they'd probably say the same thing. Hell yes, I get nervous.
Yeah.
What is it that we are doing in our brains, the subconscious and conscious,
Yeah.
that gets us past that point rather than just bailing and saying, yeah, I'm sick, I can't do it today?
Right.
What did we
So,
do? What did we not even realize that we did?
right. So it's in these words, and see, you just tweak. If you could just tweak a word, I'll give you a specific example in a second on the word you used and how to replace it. That if you just tweak it, it's kind of like a baseball player. If you have two baseball players in college, one hits 200 and one hits 300. Well, what happens when they graduate from college, or leave college, is that the baseball player in 200, goes and gets a job and makes $100,000 or whatever a year. What happens to the 300 hitter is they go out and make millions of dollars in 1 year by being a professional baseball player. What's the difference between those two? And you just need to tweak it a little. And that one that hit 300 hits one more time every 10 times at bat. So it's not very much. So let's use the terminology used. It was, and we still get nervous. Now, if you'll change that word nervous to excited, it adds, you're on the other side of the field there. Okay, so it all depends, what side are you going to be on, the unwanted or the wanted? So the unwanted is, I feel nervous and, I'm still that way. And so what happens is, this is your prayer. All our prayers are answered. So this is your prayer. I always get nervous. Well, that's your prayer. Literally, you'll be given nervous for the rest of your life until you change your thinking. So when I say, hey, I get excited like this morning, I couldn't wait to be on your show, Jeff, to share this good information, this good news with everybody on, hey, we can control it the way we want. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. In fact, 2020 is a great example on when everything kind of happened with the pandemic in February, that I told my agents, this is just change. And the world has changed a lot. And if you will take a look at and take advantage and look for the opportunities, not fall into, isn't this awful? I mean, and not to get into this, but in 2019, there were same number of deaths in 2019 as 2020. Okay, so it's not like there's a lot of extra people dying or anything like that. And again, not to get into that, but the point is that my agents went and looked for the opportunities, and my agents had the biggest year they've ever had in 2020. And so when people were stalling and buying into all of this stuff, if you will,
toilet paper.
Yeah, exactly, toilet paper. And I had plenty of toilet paper. By the way, I had a business Costco, because I attracted, instead of me saying, I don't have enough toilet paper, which is creating me not having enough toilet paper, I said, hey, there's plenty of toilet paper. So what do? I go to a Costco business. I had only been there like 2 other times before, was looking for something else. And in the back of the warehouse there, that they got stacks of Charmin. So I literally took a picture with me sitting on a stack of Charmin. Okay. And at that time, that was big news, sitting on TP, stack of TP. So we literally have the power to create it the way that we want it. We have just been thinking about things we don't want. So we think about, the pandemic, and I hope I don't get sick. You're asking for sickness. Why don't you say, hey, that I love being healthy. I haven't been sick for over a year. No cold, no nothing. Okay, and that's because I just say to myself, hey, I like to be healthy. And if I do get sick, it's no big deal. I don't put a lot of energy into that, because if I do, cooperative components come around, and I'll give you an example of this. Anyway, cooperative components come around, and you will get more different types of sicknesses, etc. But a great example of that is, have you, any NIS audience, have you ever had anything where, you said, like, at the end of the day, oh man, this is just the worst day ever. It just can't get any worse.
We've
And
all
then
done it.
boom, you all of a sudden get even something worse. The reason why, it's this cooperative component. If you talk about having a bad day and it can't get worse, you're in essence asking bad days and a worse bad day. So it's all about just changing your thinking. And it's very easy. You can literally, I have exercises that I offer in an extraordinary agent program that will literally be able to improve your thinking process, that will improve the results that you get. And you will be skipping along. I like to have people think about and just imagine just for a second on just walking down the corridor of joy and having the doors of abundance swinging wide open for you. And if you can imagine that and think about that, that you will start seeing positive effects just on that little thought there.
It's interesting. It's interesting. And for lack of a better way to describe it, I get all of this. In fact, we're at that time of year. So we're recording this the beginning of January. It actually won't come out till probably late February, early March.
Yeah.
So when you're listening to this, we're recording this right at the beginning of the year. And I start my year every year. I set big goals. And the focus is around physical. And the reason I do that is because I guess it's the same thing as I tell people that if you can drive a healthy physical life, it'll create more positive energy, and more positive energy will create other opportunities. I won't say success necessarily, but they'll create opportunities because it shifts your mindset. And I guess this goes along the same wavelength of what you're saying, just nervous versus excited. From a scientific standpoint, I guess society told me that feeling I get is nervousness. But you're telling me that it's, it is what you want it to be. It isn't anything scientific. It's what you want it to be. And the reality is, when I used to get so nervous as a child before sport, I was that kid who puked before sporting events. I loved sports and I was all about it, but I couldn't get out of my own head, and I still got sick every time, but I still went and played every time too. Right. But I guess I was just so damn excited.
Well, what happened there most likely is something like there was pressure put on you. There was like, you better go out there, little Jeffrey, and play good, by whoever, your peers,
probably
or
coaches,
girlfriend, your parents, whatever. And so versus going within, see, this is actually an inside job. Life is an inside job. We've been taught, try to manipulate the outside world. Good luck with that. What's the number one killer in America? Always has been, always will be: heart disease. They did a whole study, actually, the insurance company invested millions of dollars trying to figure out why people are dying. And they found out it's heart disease, number one reason. Number two is cancer. And COVID's really, it's just related symptoms, but for sure, heart disease, is number one. And so they looked at, well, where does the heart disease come from? And they found out that came from worry. And that worry, then, that fear, they had fear, because you can't control the outside. You can't control the president, COVID, whatever. You can't control that. And whatever you can't control will provide lots of anxiety and give you heart problems that leads to stress. And so stress is the killer that kills more people than anything else because of heart disease, and it's our stress. And so you don't have to have any stress if you only think about and focus in on what you can control. So that one tip there will help all of you to be able to start flowing more with life instead of pushing. See, most of us, and believe me, I talk to lots of people when they get into whatever, 45, 55, 60, whatever, and they get burned out. They say they've been swimming upstream and trying to control people and circumstances and the business and the events and trying to control everything. And what they did is they were swimming against the current, and they got tired. And all you literally, and what I teach you, is you need to just stop swimming upstream and start having trust and faith and go downstream, and you'll see that everything that you want, all your desires are down there. They're not above that upstream that you're fighting for, and you can have it all by going downstream. So it's kind of like row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, and you're in that boat and you're picking the low-hanging fruit. And you'll see there's plenty of low-hanging fruit, including business, money, happiness, good relationships, good health. But I love your point, Jeff, also on this health. And that health is key to anything, because if you don't have your health, it's challenging to be able to have the mental mindset and discipline to be thinking about what you do want, because you're thinking about your pain, which will create more pain.
Right. Well, it's the lack of health, which probably creates more depressing type thoughts. Depressing thoughts lead to stressful thoughts, and right on down the path. It's very, very interesting. And there's one other thing that I wanted to comment. And by the way, folks, as I think most of you, anybody who's listened to this podcast, you know that I always don't stay just on business or just on real estate, because there's more to life, number one. Number two, as Dr. Hank is kind of proving today, there's so much more that you don't even realize that you can control, that will trickle down to your business and have an effect on your success. But you mentioned something that's purely somewhat personal, but I think other people probably deal with this. And that is, I have a bunch of kids. I have two teenage daughters. I have an ex-wife. And there's a lot of my ex-wife, mental instability, sort of things, and the depression, and takes antidepressants. And this is not a knock on any of that, but
Right.
I'm always have been guilty of being very short-sighted or very cold, if you will, and saying it's all mental. You can overcome this. Now, didn't have any scientific proof, or hadn't met you yet. I've been
Right.
saying this for years. This mindset from my ex-wife has trickled down to my daughters, and my two older daughters, and they kind of have carried on a little bit. Now there's a struggle because they got dad saying it's all mental. They got mom saying it's real.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other people and families that think like my ex-wife or think like me. And so is it somewhere in the middle? I mean, when it comes to like mental diseases, and when it comes to depression, and when it comes to those sort of things, you know, how much of that is controllable by that mindset? I assume you've had a lot of experience dealing with this sort of thing.
Yeah, and a lot with other people, and in fact, with me personally. And so I'm going to start out by sharing with you a personal story that happened with me. This was 5 years ago, and I was driving along, and a semi 18-wheeler was towing a 18-wheeler, and it was in the left-hand lane. I was in the right-hand lane and lost control, and it totaled my car and it totaled my body. And I'm a Vietnam veteran, and the VA, I basically was paralyzed from my waist down. Couldn't walk. Doctor said, hey, the odds of you walking ever again just aren't. And so I decided not to believe the doctors. And it's something that will be helpful, like for, like thinking about, oh, your wife taking these antidepressants, whatever, that the doctors have put a lot of labels. You mentioned several of those labels, and then people start hanging on to those labels. They say, hey, I'm depressed, I got whatever type of disease. I mean, there's so many made up diseases now that doctors have done, and that keeps them in business. It's all fine, but you're exactly right that mentally that you can control it. So instead of believing that, but what I did is I did not argue with the doctors. Why? If I would say, oh no, I'm going to be able to walk, then the doctors would then fight me on that, and I would get what I don't want, right? And they try to talk me into me being paralyzed the rest of my life. So I just was quiet, but remember, it's an inside job. So I just started to visualize me walking, running, enjoying a normal life, being able to get up and down out of chairs, and being able to continue to travel the world, and blah, blah, blah. And so one day, and I would breathe deeply, and there's a lot of power in breathing. We'll get it in Extraordinary Agents, that there's a lot of power in this ability to be able to deep breathe and to really connect yourself to your higher self. And so I would breathe deeply, and I would just start imagining, me walking and me feeling in my legs. And one day I felt a little energy in my right small toe. And then and so I would have everybody write this down. Whatever you focus your attention on grows.
Yeah.
And so if you focus your attention on your depressed wife, she'll get more and more depressed, or ex-wife, sorry. And so for us to focus, so I just focus on that little toe and that little energy moving, and breath after breath, day after day, that energy started to move up my leg, across my waist, and I'm down my other leg. And so the VA, Veterans Administration, declared me permanently homebound and permanently disabled. And I got a disabled license plate, all that other stuff. And they said, never walk again. And voila.
Yeah.
I'm standing.
And if you're listening to this, he's walking in circles while he's talking to me.
Right. And so that's the power we have. And I'm no special than anybody else. In fact, people call me a walking miracle. And I say, we are all walking miracles. We all have this power and this ability to control it. But we've been told that, it's outside circumstances that are controlled. This is how people are. This is how my ex is. So let me give you one other fun little example. And it's a strategy that you can change other people. So if you buy into your daughter's kind of getting this depression, then what will happen again is that this will grow that with them. So you don't want that with them. But I'm going to give you an example on I'm with my wife, Sharon. We're going for the first time to meet her parents. And Sharon has had years of experience with different boyfriends, whatever, where she goes over and her dad's name is Sledge, okay, like a sledgehammer. And so it's already starting out bad, right? And she goes, listen, my dad, we're driving there, and my dad isn't going to call you by your name. He's not going to talk to you. He's not going to look you in the eye. That we're going to be in and out of there in 15 minutes. It's going to really be dreadful. I've seen this before time to time. And that's why I see our past experience isn't our friend. So she believes that. Well, I couldn't talk her into that, just like you can't talk your daughters or your wife into whatever they believe they may be having problems with, okay? Because if they focus on the problem, it's going to get bigger for them. And so every time she said, he's not going to say your name, I said, he's going to say my name, okay? He's going to talk to me. Well, we got in there, and so I'm just fired up to meet Sledge, okay? Because I said, hey, we're going to have a great conversation, and he's going to be just kind to me. We're going to really just have this amazing time together. And so I walk in there, I'm all fired up. Well, I become irresistible. And why am I irresistible? Is because of this ability to be able to call it the way you want it. And your vibration, when you're connected like that, you're more powerful than millions of people that aren't. So within a couple of minutes, Sledge initially just kind of looks down, barely shakes my hand. And pretty soon, within a couple of minutes, he's talking to me, and he takes me into his office, and he says he wants to show me his guns. And I'm like, oh, God, hope he's not going to shoot me. And we have a great time. We come out of the office. He's got his arm around me, and he said, hey, this is the best thing. We were there for over an hour. We get into the car, and Sharon goes, oh, my God, I am so concerned. And I go, what's wrong? Well, it's my dad, she said. I said, what? She goes, well, there's something wrong with my dad. He was just too nice to you. And so we have the power to change other people. But why don't we believe that? Because we've been told, and everybody will tell you, you can't change other people. When you change yourself inside job, you change other people. That's why at the, at whatever relative event, it's Uncle Joe and that bad Uncle Joe or whatever, you keep on thinking bad Uncle Joe, and he'll be, because see, everybody can be alpha to the omega, either very nice or not. And so we have the power to control our circumstances, build our businesses, build our wealth, build the relationships that we want, and to be able to really enjoy life the way that we would like to.
Interesting. So I feel, obviously we're getting close to an hour here, so we need to wrap up. I know there's a couple of things you had mentioned early on that you have a book, I know you have an event coming up. You also have a coaching platform. Tell our audience a little bit about that. And Hank, I think maybe we'll have to have a part two, maybe in a couple of months, and continue this conversation, because I think this is fascinating. I'm really curious to see the feedback from our audience. And if you're listening today, please give us your feedback. Respond to one of my posts, shoot me a DM, give us a rating, obviously within one of the podcast apps. We'd like to know what you think. This is a little different, but I like it. I think it's important. I think this just mental health in general affects it affects everyone. I think I'm on the positive end of the spectrum, but it still affects me. I've just figured out that, wow, it's really powerful on accident. Like, I didn't realize all of this stuff, all of this science behind it. But let's tell our audience, if they want more of you, they don't want to wait for part two, and they're interested to hear more, and they've got some things to overcome. How do they get a hold of you, and what have you got coming out?
Well, the best thing, just call me or text me. And so my number is 214-753-7204. And most people will say, oh, and you get some other person or whatever. You get me live, that you'll see that I'm there and I'm there for you. And if I can help you in any way, that's a great way to get a hold of me. If you want to have some background, agentwealthsuccess.com will give you some good information. You can also go to my coaching website, that it's Dr. Hank. So Dr. Hank, and then Seitz, S as in Sam, EITZ.com is another great place. Or my email, drhank@drhank.biz, and biz. And but one of the things that we do have, Jeff, that we talked about earlier, is this extraordinary agents. And so if you're looking to be an extraordinary agent, that we're going to give you a special discount on that because of Jeff and everything that he's done with LabCoatAgents. But this is a 7-week process. It's about an hour and 15 minutes each week. We'll be recording it. And we'll actually set it up right after this is aired. And so it'll be available to you right after with the discount. And but you'll see that it will take you to build a winning and prosperous mindset. It will show you how to do that. It'll show you how to set high vibrational desires. Now, most people call those goals, but goals is a little hard, if you will, versus desires, because it's really what we desire. Desires just a little bit, again, this tweaking of words, but it'll really unleash the superpower within all of us, and specifically within each of you, that it will unleash that superpower for you to have more of what you want to be, do, and have, and guaranteed it'll increase your business and your wealth.
So where would they go find this extraordinary agent 7-week course?
Agentwealthsuccess.com. If you just go there, and it's under one of the tabs. You'll see it's an obvious tab, like events. It's under the events tab. And it's right there. You can hit on that. You can also call me. And in fact, if you text me or email me, I'll give you half off the price of what we originally did. It was $699.97. It's $497, and I'll divide that by 2 and give that to you, mainly because, Jeff, I've really loved this time together with you, and you are really special. I just love on how authentic you are and how positive you are, and that everybody at LabCoatAgents is certainly in good hands with you and all the resources that you provide us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So one last question about the event. If and when they don't hear about this, until after it's already going on or it's already happened. You said it is recorded. Can they still get access to it?
Yeah, they can still get access to it, and it will be recorded, and you'll get my free book, you'll get the Joy Shop, you get a lot of things that are included in that that people have invested literally thousands of dollars for, that you're going to be able to get for $2.25.
Awesome.
$2.50.
Really cool. Really cool. Is there a certain code that they need to use in order to take advantage of that?
Well, the best way so if you want, I already am giving on the website to you the $200 off, but if you want half of that, you text me or email me or call me, and we can we'll just do it over the phone right then.
Got it. And if anybody missed his number, it's 214-753-7204. And his email is Dr. So Dr. Hank at drhank.biz. Is that what you said?
Yep, that's it.
Perfect.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, my friend, this has been fun. It's been interesting, and I think we'll have to do it again. So let's reconvene offline and maybe schedule a part 2 and take this. My intent, of course, as I told you when we started this, we never know the path we're going to go down, and I think this is fascinating, and it's a really good, kind of a cornerstone, just a baseline of how much information that you have to offer. But I think it's eye-opening for so many. I think you should definitely go check out the website, agentwealthsuccess.com. You should absolutely reach out to Hank if you find that might be helpful for you. And if nothing else, just tune in and hang on, and we'll do a part 2, and we'll probably take it down more of the business path, because I think that's important as well. So Dr. Hank, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on today.
Well, Jeff, thanks for having me, and to all of you, and to you, Jeff, that I wish you much happiness and success, and any way that I can help you to become your greatest possibility, you know how to get a hold of me.
I love it, man. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. All the best. Bye.
LabCoatAgents Podcast.